Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to explore how global companies are shifting from just manufacturing packaging to actually tracking the revenue of sustainable products. Using rigorous SASB frameworks, we're looking really closely at the containers and packaging standard to see how sustainability is, quite literally, being monetized.
So let's dive right in with the million-dollar question for investors and consumers alike. How do we actually know if green packaging is making money? It's super easy for a company to say their boxes or bottles are eco-friendly, but how do we verify if those green claims are generating real revenue on the balance sheet? Well, that is exactly what the SASB standards were built to answer.
To figure that out, we're going to follow the money. We'll cover tracking revenue, defining the big three packaging standards, lifecycle design, LCA tools, and finally, the bottom line. Let's get to it. First up, tracking revenue, specifically looking at SASB metric RTC 410A.2. The absolutely crucial point for tracking revenue is this specific benchmark, metric 410A.2. It explicitly places revenue tracking directly under product lifecycle management. It's asking for hard quantitative data, real bottom-line revenue in the presentation currency, made specifically from products that are reusable, recyclable, or compostable. This is huge because it brilliantly bridges the gap between how a product is managed through its life and the actual dollars it brings into the business. And this brings up one of the smartest safeguards built right into the standard, a strict no double counting rule. Imagine a company designs an incredible new container that is both recyclable and compostable. You might think they'd get to claim that revenue twice to boost their green stats, right? Actually, no way. The standard explicitly states that if a product meets multiple criteria, its revenue is only recorded once. It's a fantastic rule that completely prevents greenwashing and ensures financial data stays perfectly accurate for investors. Moving on to Section 2, defining the big three ISO packaging standards. Because green isn't really a financial term, we have to look at what actually qualifies as sustainable. First up is reusable. Under the ISO 1863 standard, reusable isn't just a vague promise or some marketing buzzword. It means the packaging is explicitly conceived and engineered to accomplish a specific number of trips or uses for its original purpose. You can't just slap a Reuse Me sticker on a flimsy plastic bottle. It has to be fundamentally designed for multiple intentional rotations. Next, we have recyclable. Moving to the ISO 18604 standard, recyclable dictates a very rigorous chain of physical events. The material must be successfully diverted from the waste stream through available processes, collected, processed, and actually returned to use in the form of raw materials or new products. It's really not enough to just throw it in a blue bin and hope for the best. The local infrastructure actually has to support processing it back into a usable state for that revenue to even count. And the third category is compostable. For a product's revenue to be counted here, the ISO 18606 and ASTM D6400 standards set a rigorously strict scientific baseline. This requires actual degradation by biological processes during composting. Plus, it has to yield specific outcomes: CO2, water, inorganic compounds, and biomass at a consistent rate, leaving absolutely no visible, distinguishable, or toxic residue behind. We're talking precise chemistry here, not just good intentions. All right, Section 3 is life cycle design, bringing us to metric RTCP 410A.3. So to make these revenue-generating products a reality, companies face a massive balancing act. They have to balance their environmental goals with physical reality. That means employing strategies like optimizing and minimizing the packaging's weight and volume. But they have to do all of this while strictly adhering to ISO 1862, which mandates product safety, hygiene, and consumer acceptance. Think about it. If a lighter bottle doesn't protect the food inside, or if consumers just hate how it pours, it's a total failure, no matter how little material it uses. This design phase is also where businesses execute a major strategic shift toward alternative materials. By substituting traditional virgin inputs for materials that are recycled, recyclable, reusable, or compostable, they are directly addressing what consumers want. But more importantly, this proactive design is exactly what prepares the end product to meet those strict revenue criteria we discussed a minute ago. It all constantly connects back to those core standards. That brings us to Section 4, LCA tools, or lifecycle assessment. To actually pull off these complex design optimizations, companies rely on a powerful analytical engine known as lifecycle assessment.
The SASB standard actually provides a fascinating guideline on this. It says improvements to the environmental efficiency of packaging products may be discussed in terms of LCA functional unit service parameters. Now, I know that sounds incredibly technical, but it essentially means that when a company makes packaging greener, they measure that success precisely by how well, how long, and how extensively the packaging performs its job. It is literally performance-based sustainability. In practice, engineers use this framework to methodically step through optimization. Step 1. You reduce the product's weight without compromising quality. Step 2. Because the product is lighter, you inherently maximize transportation efficiency. You can fit way more on a truck, or the truck burns less fuel. Step 3. This ultimately drives down the total environmental footprint of the product across its entire lifespan. Finally, Section 5, the bottom line and sustainable revenue. Let's tie all these complex physical life cycle designs back to the financial accountability that investors are looking for today. These SASB metrics perfectly bridge the gap between physical environmental design and rigorous financial revenue reporting. By linking the physical design strategies of metric 410A.3 with the strict financial tracking of 410A.2, corporate sustainability is measured in actual presentation currency. It's all about proving that sustainable design generates real, traceable revenue for the business. So I'll leave you with this. The next time you pick up a product at the store, ask yourself a provocative question. Is the packaging in your hands destined to be a long-term liability in a landfill, or was it intentionally designed to be a strategically tracked, revenue-generating asset on a corporate balance sheet? Understanding these standards completely changes how we look at the boxes, bottles, and cans that surround us every single day. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep asking those big questions.